My name is Anthea Martin. I'm chair of the State Housing Board. I'm also an affordable housing lender with BWE. First on the agenda today is we're going to take a roll call of all the board members. So Nancy Jackson.
Here.
Hi, Nancy. Ryan Jones.
Sorry, present.
Hi, Ryan. James Martinez. J. Ryan Moses.
Here.
Candace Payne.
Present.
Don Sperling.
Here.
And Monique Terpstra.
Here.
And then I'll circle back to James Martinez. I believe, Candace, you have James's proxy for today, correct?
I do.
Excellent.
I believe they confirmed that.
I think so as well. Good. Well, welcome all board members. Welcome everyone to the meeting. First on the agenda is the approval of the May 2025 meeting votes. If I could ask for any comments, questions, or a motion to approve those meeting votes.
I move to make the approval of the May 25 minutes if there are no corrections.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Candace, for that motion, and I believe Nancy for that second. All those in favor signify by aye and or a hand raise.
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? Great, thank you all. And today we're going to have the director comments. Teresa is going to lead us in those comments and the budget update. So Teresa, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Anthea. I'm Teresa Casano, Director of the Office of Housing, Finance, and Sustainability, stepping in for Allison George today, who is in transit. We do have a full meeting today, so I don't want to take up too much time. I will apologize in advance. I believe our agenda was sent out earlier in the week for slightly less time. We'll try to keep this to an hour today, and then we'll adjust future meeting invites as needed. So kicking us off, as many of you may have heard, Allison George is retiring from DOLA effective October 15th. She hasn't taken my no for an answer yet. And she's actually also officially kicked off her retirement transition. So here's what to expect, and we'd love your help and referrals. The director position was posted at the beginning of June. Candidate interviews are expected to begin over the summer, and our goal is to have a new director start in the fall so that there is overlap between that person and Allison. I know Allison can speak more directly about her retirement, but wanted to share the timeline and also make sure you're all in the loop as we continue to thank Allison for her service and plan a really amazing goodbye party. On another note, we'll talk a little bit about federal updates here today. So I think, this has been a recurring theme for us all to address. At the end of May, the president released his full federal budget proposal that does suggest cuts to many of the programs that Division of Housing and DOLA more broadly utilize for our projects. Ultimately, Congress will review and determine final funding decisions. The HUD secretary is expected to testify before Appropriations Committee this week. And actually, Allison George is on her way to Washington, D.C. to represent the Division of Housing and stay engaged in these critical conversations. Know that the state more generally, as well as DOLA leadership, are actively monitoring the situation, and we will keep you all posted on expected impacts as we learn more. Also want to do a quick update on our in-person retreat day. We really appreciate everybody's flexibility trying to get this scheduled. Unfortunately, the run-up to summer has everyone's schedules a bit mismatched. So you should have seen we sent a hold on folks' calendars based on responses for October 7th in Denver. We'll follow up shortly with more details on that day, the agenda, and then travel reimbursements for board members. So please look out for that in the coming weeks. We'll also be sending an updated budget in advance of our July meeting. We did not share today because there have been no major changes. In the meantime, we're doing a deep reconciliation for the end of the fiscal year. And so we expect the July update to have information to date, as well as projections for next fiscal year's awards that we can share with you all and talk a little bit about our progress and plans for the upcoming fiscal year. Barring no questions on that, I will turn it over so we can get into our agenda here.
Thank you for that. Teresa, will you keep us updated on Allison's going away party? Can you make sure that we're all looped into that?
Absolutely. And again, we have Allison until the middle of October, which we're deeply appreciative of. We also will co-opt her into joining our in-person retreat that was planned to make sure she's still here.
Oh, good. We'll have to do something to embarrass her then. She's not on, right? Okay, good. Great, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board on Teresa's comments? Thank you for the update, Teresa. We have one project today. It will be a short meeting. Presenting today is Evan Samora, and he will be presenting the Alpine Valley Apartments, which I believe just got Prop 123 award.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. Epperfron Holdings, LLC is requesting $1.3 million in HDG loan funding to support the construction of Alpine Apartments Phase 1. Alpine Apartments Phase 1 is a 26-unit affordable rental development located in Monte Vista, serving households with incomes between 80 and 100% AMI. Alpine Valley has been underwritten by Lisa Blakeney. Alpine Valley is located on the west side of Monte Vista and south of the Rio Grande River. The development benefits from being near multiple outdoor recreation opportunities, whether it be cycling or fishing. And SLV Go has built a trail adjacent to the property. The site is very near numerous other businesses and services. Joining us today is Louis Lacondi, managing member of Epperfron Holdings LLC and developer of Alpine Valley. And with that, I'll pass it to you, Louis.
Thank you, Evan. Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, great. All right, so my name is Louis Lacondi. I'm the owner of JRA Real Estate. And you see that there's two entities. So JRA is my entity as the developer, and then single purpose entity for the project is Epperfron Holdings, of which I'm the managing member. I live and work in the San Luis Valley as a housing developer, and I focus on new construction, middle income rental projects, and some home ownership projects. And also a little bit outside the San Luis Valley, so kind of broader Southern Colorado. I've been focused on developing housing in this region since about 2019, and I've completed 4 projects to date, comprising 83 new middle income units, benefiting from really just my local knowledge and regional resources to bring projects to successful completion on time and on budget. Prior to JRA, my career experiences have included civil engineering, construction management, project management, logistics, and large-scale development on master plan communities. I've done this for both government institutions as well as private institutions. So the background on this project, after working closely with the city of Monte Vista and local stakeholders for about 3 years, we spent a lot of time assessing various sites for development feasibility, access to infrastructure and relatively modern infrastructure, and conforming zoning. The subject project location became available, and we quickly identified this as an ideal location for a middle income project based on its proximate location to existing infrastructure, conforming zoning, and nearby amenities, as Evan was mentioning. These amenities include recreation, parks, municipal services, retail, and grocery, all within like a 2 to 5 minute walk. The DOH award, in combination with the Prop 123 award that we were recently granted, significantly lowers the rents on this project to below 70% AMI and directly impacts our ability to offer rents kind of below the standard 80 to 120. This really opens up affordability to a wider range of potential residents, including in this market, retirees on a fixed income and a lot of younger workers at lower income levels. The community center is also a key component of this project, and it'll prove to be both a benefit for the residents of this project as well as just the public of Monte Vista. In conclusion, I just want to thank all the Division of Housing local and regional staff for their efforts and time in, guiding me through the application process, as well as the Housing Board for the consideration of this project for state funding. And I'm confident this award will directly benefit Monte Vista residents now and into the future. And with that, I'll conclude and open up for any questions.
Thank you, Louis. Any
Thanks,
questions
Cynthia.
from the board?
I
Louis,
have a
go
quick
ahead, Ryan.
question. Sorry. Hi, Louis. Thanks for coming to us with this
You, Ryan?
today. Just a quick question on the rents and the achievable nature of them. Did you do an achievable market rent study as well?
I'm not familiar with that specific terminology. We did a market study, which had, market rents and comparable affordable housing project rents.
Sure.
Are you getting at something like a specific terminology thing, or?
No, that's about the gist of it. In these more rural locations, I'm always curious about any rents above 80 being achievable.
Hmm.
Just that kind of marketability of a project, if that makes sense.
I could certainly speak to that.
Perfect.
So something to keep in mind is that the AMI levels are being restricted to 80 to 100% AMI, but the rents themselves are actually reflective of a lower rent. So the rents proposed on the project are slightly above 60% AMI.
The 1,000 through 1,500.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you.
And Louis, I was going to ask it. It looks like you've been really busy. You've got the Trinidad, Walsenburg, and Alamosa project also in the works. Is that correct?
Well, those are basically done at this point. So Trinidad, Alamosa are 100% occupied. Walsenburg is in lease up. So really this project, and there is another project that's on the home ownership side that I'm working on, but those are really the only two, looking forward that I'm working on actively.
Okay, so you have 3 active deals that are leasing up or being offered for sale at the same time, but you don't have 5. That was my concern, was that you had a lot on your plate. Maybe can you just talk a little bit about is this in terms of volume for you? Do you have a full staff? I mean, do you feel like this is a lot of exposure, or just?
Yeah, I can address. I know what you're. So on the first 3 projects, there really isn't much in the way. I mean, property management, and then I also hired a full-time or part-time compliance director to kind of manage the compliance side of things on properties that have been built and are either in lease up or stabilized. So those first 3 projects are essentially leased up and just in unit turnover, kind of property management, daily operations. It doesn't require a lot of work on my end. So from a capacity standpoint, it was taking up a lot of capacity for the last year, but those are now off my plate largely. And it's really just this project, pre-development and then construction management efforts. And then, like I said, the other home ownership project is really, I feel very comfortable taking on this project and then one other that's in the pipeline, because those other projects are largely behind me in terms of, bandwidth sucking tasks.
Got it. That's helpful. Thanks. And I just want to also commend you. It looks like your overall costs and soft costs, hard costs, everything are just much lower than we typically see, especially in rural communities. So you're definitely doing something right. At some point, it might be helpful to hear how you're accomplishing that. But congratulations for that.
Thank you. It's just a lot of elbow grease and a lot of extra effort, but thank you for that.
Anything else from the board? Okay, hearing no other questions or comments, let's go ahead and vote on Alpine Valley, since it's our one deal for the day. If I could please first ask if anyone needs to recuse themselves from the vote. And hearing no one, if I can ask for a motion of approval.
This is Candace. I would make that motion to approve this project.
Thanks, Candace.
Second, this is Dawn.
Thanks, LaDon, for the second. All those in favor of Alpine Valley signified by an aye or a hand raise.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And Candace voting
Aye.
with James's proxy. So congratulations, Louis.
Thank you all.
Next up on our agenda is the administrative rules public hearing. So Sam, if you want to kick us off before we go into the script.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chair Martin. Welcome, State Housing Board members. Thank you for this part of your job that you see me a couple times a year on. As you know, the State Housing Board approves the administrative rules for the Building Codes and Standards section, which takes care of all the factory-built structures, either built in the state or coming to the state to be placed. So they do the closed construction built in one location and move to another location. So that's what we're here about today. This one is fairly simple. This is the only thing that we're asking for a change on is a change to the fee structure. I sent out a fairly comprehensive package. We have followed all the rules and regulations around administrative rule changes. We had a stakeholder meeting. The TAC, Technical Advisory Committee, actually recommends changes to the administrative rules, and we had a meeting with the Technical Advisory Committee, and this is where we are today. So this is a public hearing. Members of the public can make comments. It's not generally a question and answers section. Certainly willing to take questions if the chair wants to ask questions, or if any from a public comment. Also, if there are any board members with any questions about the packets that I sent out and the process and the fee increases, I'm happy to provide responses for that.
Great. Thank you for that, Sam. Should I get into the script now?
I think so.
Okay, excellent. Thank you all for your patience. The State Housing Board is now in session for a rulemaking hearing pursuant to sections 24.4.103 and 24.32.707(1)G of the Colorado Revised Statutes. I'm Anthea Martin, Board Chair for this hearing. In addition to the other board members participating are the Director of the Office of Regulatory Oversight, Sam Albrecht. We are holding this rulemaking hearing to adopt proposed amendments to the administrative rules recommended through the Technical Advisory Committee. The Division of Housing convened a TAC meeting, which was publicly noticed on April 29, 2025. A webinar was held for all interested parties on May 13, 2025. The webinar notice went to 6,558 email addresses. The TAC meeting was recorded and posted to the TAC webpage. The interested party webinar was recorded and posted to the Division of Housing, Building Codes and Standards webpage. The board will consider the draft rules attached to the rulemaking notice for today's hearing and any written and oral comments entered as part of today's hearing. One written comment was received and was provided in the board packet. Any other written comments received today will be added to the permanent record of rulemaking. The proposed regulations were filed electronically with the Secretary of State on April 29, 2025, and updated on May 8, 2025 for review and published in the May 10, 2025 issue of the Colorado Register in compliance with statutory requirements. Further, the proposed regulations that were ultimately noticed with the Secretary of State were also filed electronically with the Colorado Office of Policy, Research and Regulatory Reform, and a cost-benefit analysis was not required. Additionally, pursuant to Section 24.4.103(3)B CRS, each individual requesting notification of proposed rulemaking was emailed a copy of the notice of rulemaking on May 8, 2025. The proposed regulations and the notice of rulemaking were also posted on the website of the Building Codes and Standards section on May 8, 2025. Each of these notices included a copy of the proposed rules, the basis, the purpose, the authority, and instructions on how to provide written or verbal testimony to be included in the rulemaking hearing record. Copies of the proposed rules as noticed and as further amended, as well as the statement of basis, specific statutory authority, and purpose are available upon request. There were no submissions of written testimony provided after the published deadline that will be part of the record. As part of the stakeholder engagement process, comments in relation to the draft rules were requested by 5 p.m. on May 23, 2025. One written comment was submitted and provided in the board packet. Are there any other comments that anyone would like submitted and considered part of this record for this rulemaking hearing? If so, please email a copy to Sam Albrecht at sam.albrecht, ALBRECHT, @state.ca.gov. who will have them marked as part of the record. The purpose of this hearing is to allow interested parties the opportunity to present comments, data, views, testimony, and arguments concerning the rules as proposed. The public is invited to testify at this hearing. All comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and I will request that redundancy be kept to a minimum. Each individual offering testimony at this rulemaking hearing must be on the record. Therefore, any person who wishes to speak at this hearing must record their name, address, and the organization represented, if any. You may register on the sign-up sheet prior to speaking. If you have not done so, please register now. Today's hearing will be recorded, and I ask that people introduce themselves prior to testifying. I also ask that you speak loudly and clearly enough to ensure that your testimony is recorded. We will also accept any written submissions and make them part of the record. During deliberation, the board will consider all of the factors outlined in the Administrative Procedure Act. At this time, I will call individuals to testify in the order that staff has recorded their interest in speaking. Do we have any individuals? It appears that we do not have anyone wanting to provide testimony. The comment and testimony portion of this rulemaking hearing is now closed. The board will review and consider the written and oral comments, data, views, testimony, and arguments that were submitted to the board prior to the conclusion of this hearing in conjunction with the oral comments provided here today before rendering a decision on the adoption of the proposed rules. Would staff like to comment on the written testimony that was received before the deadline or the testimony or just before the deadline?
No.
Does the board have any questions on the written testimony that was provided? Hearing none, after adoption, the rules will be forwarded to the Attorney General's office with a request for an opinion on the constitutionality and legality of the rules. On or before the 20th day following the adoption of the regulations, the rules and the opinion of the Attorney General will be filed with the Secretary of State for publication in the Code of Colorado Regulations. On or before the 20th day following the adoption of the rules will be filed with the Office of Legislative Legal Services as required by law. Any adopted rules become effective 20 days after publication of the adopted rules in the Colorado Register. Please note that the effective date of these rules will be July 30th, 2025, if adopted today. The board will now consider the testimony, the draft rules and amendments as presented. Are there any final questions from the board? Do I have a motion to approve the rules and amendments presented today?
This is Candace. I would make that motion to approve the rulemaking.
Thank you, Candace. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy. All those in favor signified by aye or hand raise.
Aye.
Aye. James Martin as well.
Is anybody opposed or recusing themselves? All right, hearing none, the administrative rules have been passed at this time. I close the rulemaking hearing, and I thank you all for your cooperation and patience.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Teresa, I'll turn it over to you for the closing.
Thanks. Thank you, Anthea. And I just want to give a little bit of a recap about where we're going. So our next meeting together is July 8th. I understand summer vacation schedules may get in the way, so please keep us posted as to availability and proxies. At that July 8th meeting, we will be presenting applications from our March application cycle, or I'm sorry, May application cycle. And so we're expecting to bring up to 7 awards based on final underwriting split between rental and homeownership development. So that's immediate going forward. Just to give you all a sense of what we're working on right now and general conditions. Right now, the Division of Housing is evaluating applications for the Colorado Housing Finance Authority's tax credit round. And so this year we did a pre-application round that allows us to conditionally commit funds to tax credit deals. Over the past year, we had not been able to do that. So this is a little bit of a pilot. That said, the demand has been quite overwhelming. We have $49 million worth of applications for $17 million of available funds. And so We think this is likely a sign of things to come with tighter resources and higher demand. Most of those projects are in the Front Range. If you are curious about LOIs, I'm going to put a link to our funding application page here in the chat. We are posting those publicly now. And so if you see a project in your community or you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly. Our next big funding application round is going to be August 15th with LOIs due July 1st. In that round, we will be awarding homeownership development, rental development. We're also launching a homeownership NOFA for scattered site developers in hopes that we can be a little bit more responsive to that model where a site and address is not quite identified, but folks are applying for a pot of money. And so that's what's coming forward. Again, we'll use our next meeting if we have time to do a recap of this fiscal year's investments. But if you see anything or have questions, also happy to connect directly on any of that. And if there are no other questions, we will see you in July and very much appreciate all of your time and energy.
Excellent. Thank you all.